Justin's a loser, always has been.
All right, in this video, we are going to be looking at the recent media circus that happened in Montreal. Before we do, if you could hit that like button, it helps get the video out. And please consider subscribing. Please join me this Friday, 6 p.m. for the very first live stream. It's going to be a great time. Let's get into it. Hilltime reporter Stuart Benson having a complete meltdown on camera. Of course, that's directed at Rebel News. This guy completely embarrasses himself and the company he works for. I hope this guy gets fired, but we all know they're never held accountable for their actions.
You got the levels ready for me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you're clearly not doing any actual journalism.
Really?
Why, when you guys started gaming the rules and threatening to sue because you didn't get your way, I assumed the rules were out the window.
No, it's right here across the way. You follow the rule.
Oh, was that like when it was in black and white saying you should only have one reporter accredited so that everyone might have a chance to ask a question? But instead, you wanted to take, what was it, 2-minute long questions so that Polyev only got asked 3 questions. He usually allows 4 because things move a little bit quicker at his press conference. You guys are so verbose, I'll say. Most of us didn't get a question. And what I really don't enjoy is that everyone else here was being respectful, following the rules, just being considerate to everyone else. And what you guys decided to do was to take advantage, threaten to sue, so that you could try to get more than everyone else. And now, nobody likes you.
The CBC and the Radio Canada had 4 questions, and we had 4 questions. Why are you lying? We had the same number as the
You guys
CBC.
threatened to sue, so that you could. That's why they got the 4 questions, because the commission.
You're making that up. You're lying again.
When did the CBC get 4 questions?
Yesterday.
Yes, after they had already.
And they had
sold
the
it
same
to
in
you
2021,
because
same in
you threatened
2019.
to sue.
You're lying again.
I'm not.
It's your correspondent said
Don't you have a third-party advertising truck to go take care of?
you're lying
How
again.
much have you spent on third-party advertising this election? Between Rebel News and For Canada, companies you own both of, how much money have you spent to influence this election? I'm assuming in favor of the Conservatives. How much have you spent? You're a journalist.
Rebel
you must
News
be
has
honest.
spent 0.
So, Rebel News Limited, you set up.
You're a liar. This is you haven't done your homework. You're making things up.
You can go to Elections Canada right now. Every third party is registered. Search Rebel News For Canada, and you will see clear as day, as will Avant, as the owner of both of those companies. He has third-party advertising trucks driving around this
You're
venue
lying
right
again.
now.
That's not a Rebel News ad on there. You're lying.
It's
Why are you
owned by
lying?
Rebel. It's owned by you. Sorry. The truck is For Canada, which is owned by
you're
you,
lying again.
which is
Jesus
separate
Christ.
from
You're
Rebel
lying.
News,
You're
which
a
is also
crazy guy.
owned by you.
You're crazy.
You
You got to control your emotions.
One by one.
Control your emotions.
So, I'm just enunciating.
You're out of control. You're out of
Speaking
control.
quietly doesn't make your things any less
You're
bullshit.
completely out of control emotionally. And your facts are completely wrong.
All
You're
right,
an
let's go.
embarrassment. What's your name? What's your name? You're suddenly shy.
No, I'm Googling.
You're Googling your name?
Why don't you tell us who you are, tough guy?
Stuart Benson, Hill Times.
Student Benson, well, you're a disgrace to the Hill Times. And your facts are wrong.
You're a disgrace to journalism, buddy.
Actually, here's the thing. I can do the job of one of me can do the same job you clearly need 5 reporters to do. So am I the disgrace, or is it all of the people you needed to do the job I do by myself?
You just got to control your emotions.
Now, David Menzies of Rebel News getting smacked not once, but twice by Terry Guillon.
All right, let's break down what exactly led up to this moment of Terry Guillon, lead media advance for Prime Minister Mark Carney, smacking David Menzies twice outside of the leaders' debate last night. Now, as many of you know, the post-debate media scrum was canceled, and a journalist from Ricochet Media started to yell and blame Rebel News for it being canceled. While I was filming this interaction, I noticed another cameraman filming me while all the action was happening behind him. So to test if he was actually filming me, I moved around, and unsurprisingly, his camera followed me. Fast forward to a few minutes later, and I tried to get a shot of his name tag to see who he worked for, and he elbowed me out of the way. As he was exiting the venue, my colleague Alexa Lavoie attempted to speak with him in French to see who he worked for because he wouldn't respond in English to me. David Menzies also followed us outside of the building, and as I was attempting to get a shot of his name tag on his bag, he smacked my phone out of my hand and stepped on it. And then, out of nowhere, Terry Guillon steps into the picture, and as David Menzies is filming him, he did not like that the camera was in his face, and he smacked it out of David's hand. David retrieved his camera and attempted to ask him what that was all about, and he smacked it again. It's important to note that there was police all around while this was happening, and I was in disbelief that none of them were stepping in at this moment. It's also important to note that the cameraman who initiated the whole incident then went on to load up all of his camera equipment onto an official Liberal Party bus.
I did a quick search of Guillon, and what do you know? A similar event popped up from 2019 where he did basically the same thing. Again, to Rebel News. Here's that clip.
Now, things got a little bit dicey when a Prime Minister's office staffer realized who I was. I don't know what his name is. I do know that he does work at the Prime Minister's office. He was very nice to me when I showed up at the media desk, but once I showed him this mic flash and this lanyard, his tone changed. He started following me around the arena, very intimidating like. Obviously, I wasn't too scared of this old man, but it all came to a head when he shoved me. He knew exactly where I was standing, and he didn't like it because I was standing in an area where I could ask the Prime Minister a question. Here's him shoving me. Look at this. It's despicable, this conduct. If this guy thinks that this kind of intimidation and bullying is going to stop me from following the Prime Minister all across Canada throughout the federal election, he's got something else coming. He just bought Prime Minister Justin Trudeau 100 more visits from Guillon and the rest of the Rebel team. It's disgusting. Now look at him. He's looking at where I'm standing. He's scoping me out. Then he turns around and backs up and shoves his shoulder into my equipment. My camera's on a gimbal, so it's fragile. He knows that. I think he wanted to cause as much damage as he could quietly do. Now, look at what he has to say when I asked him to apologize. Do you want to apologize for what you did? Do you want to apologize for what you did? Now, hopefully this cut isn't too jarring, but I want to update you guys with some information we found out after the fact. This man's name is Terry Guillon. And he's not a nobody. He used to be the head of the Parliamentary Press Gallery in Ottawa before resigning and moving to Justin Trudeau's PMO. You can see here every mainstream journalist in the whole country, it seems, lamenting his departure from the press gallery. One person calling him Zen, and Rosie Barton actually crying over him leaving. It's sad, it's disturbing, and it outlines the incestuous relationship between the PMO and the press gallery and the Liberal Party. It's just weird, disgusting, disturbing. Now that we know this thug's name, Terry Guillon, we bought his domain name, and this video is going to be posted there for the rest of his career. You can go to www.terryguillon.com.
Violence just seems to be a common occurrence with the Liberals. And it's just such an immature thing. Again, this is how a child acts when they don't get their way. Stories like this aren't picked up by the mainstream media, which is exactly why we need sources like Rebel News. Another great reason why we need sources like them is because of government-funded media like CBC twisting the story and lying about what actually happened. This is exactly why the CBC relies on our tax dollars to stay running, and exactly why Pierre Poilievre wants to defund them. Once the money's gone, they're either going to crumble or be forced to tell the truth.
All right, so let's get back to the substance of what we did here.
Well, can I just pick up on Karina if I can?
Yeah, absolutely.
There are, just so people understand, there are a series of police officers stationed behind us to make sure that we remain safe and that the media get out safely. They were not altercations between journalists inside the media room, and there was no altercation between journalists that happened on David's set. These were right-wing people that publish their own agenda and websites who confronted journalists inside the media center, who confronted David on his set, who directly and personally confronted me inside the media center. These are people that the commission decided to accredit, and that is where we are now. The situation deteriorated quickly in terms of how those people were behaving inside a professional media center where you were supposed to be doing your job. And that has left us with no scrums and a a strange security situation on a night where we should be focused on the things that you want to ask us about.
It certainly didn't look like this
Just
last
one
night.
point on that. We are inside a secure perimeter. You have to go through screening processes that involve the RCMP. This set we are on, they came in with bomb-sniffing dogs, searched our bags to make sure everything was safe. That's to make sure the leaders are safe and everybody in here is safe. And for whatever reason, the way this evolved throughout the day and yesterday, the Montreal police are here putting up caution tape, escorting people out. And the leaders of Canada's 4 parties who were able to participate in this debate, because they, what was the phrase, didn't feel they could provide or guarantee a proper environment, they're not going to take questions from journalists. And look, I know not everybody thinks it's all about us, but it is an important part of the ritual of elections and democracies and accountability. And it is part of the stress test that these leaders go through as they seek to lead this country, and spend your tax revenue and make laws, and some serious things being discussed there tonight about criminal justice and using the notwithstanding clause. These are all things that require a serious and mature debate, not financially motivated stunts. And this is where we've ended up in this election. With everything going on with Donald Trump and everything going on in this economy and everything going on in the world, this is where the national Canadian election debate has ended up. And it's just exhausting. And it is the end product of multiple years of rage farming for narrow political gain and financial benefit for a very small group of people who blew this up today.
And Canadians, as a result, don't get one more rare opportunity to hear the leaders answer questions.
That's it for this one. I hope you enjoyed. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.